I raised my right hand that sweltering afternoon in Quantico, Virginia, swearing to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And the words tasted like ash because the biggest enemy was sitting right there in the audience, refusing to stand. My father, General Harlan Hawk Whitaker, the man who'd built empires in boardrooms and battlefields, leaned back in his chair and muttered loud enough for the row behind him to hear, "Still not a son." What a goddamn waste. 7 generals, men who'd commanded divisions, toppled regimes, and toasted with presidents, shot to their feet the second my palm hit the Bible. Their salutes cracking like thunder, eyes locked on me like I was the future of the Corps, not the punchline to his lifelong joke. They say the Marines break you down to build you up. But for me, Caroline Whitaker, no. Scratch that. I was born Caleb back then. Before the surgeries, the hormones, the endless therapy sessions that felt like confessing sins to a priest who wouldn't absolve you. It was more like digging up a grave you'd been buried in alive. That induction ceremony in 24 wasn't my first betrayal, just the latest scar in a lifetime of them. Dad had always played the hero in our family's twisted epic, the decorated vet who'd clawed his way from a trailer park in West Virginia to the Pentagon's inner circle, rubbing elbows with senators and CEOs. Mom died when I was 10, cancer. Quick and merciless. And he raised us alone. Me and my brother, Ethan. Or tried to. Ethan was the golden boy. The one who fit the Whitaker mold. Broad-shouldered. Quick with a grin. Destined for the family legacy. I was the glitch. The kid who stared too long at the girls in class. Who cried during football practice because the pads felt like armor on a body that didn't belong. By high school in Arlington, Virginia, those cookie-cutter suburbs where every lawn was manicured and every secret festered under the surface, I knew I wasn't Caleb. Not really. The mirror lied every morning, showing a boy's frame that trapped a girl's soul. I started binding my chest with ace bandages stolen from Dad's first aid kit, whispering prayers to a God who seemed as distant as the stars over the Potomac. Ethan knew. He caught me once, slipping into the bathroom at 2 a.m., sports bra half on, tears streaking my face. "Freak," he hissed. But there was something else in his eyes. Pity? Fear? He was 16. Already lettering in lacrosse. Scouting West Point like it was his birthright. "Dad'll kill you, if he finds out." He didn't tell. Not then. But secrets like that? They don't stay buried in a family like ours. They erupt. Volcanic and unforgiving. College was my escape hatch. Georgetown. Pre-med track. Because Dad decreed it. Doctors save lives. Son. Warriors too. But you ain't cut out for that. I nodded, swallowed the bile, and dove into books that let me disappear. That's where I met Lena, a poli-sci major with fire-red hair and a laugh that cut through the DC. Fog like sunlight. She saw me, really saw me, before I even had the courage to whisper my truth. Our first date was at a dive bar in Adams Morgan. Cheap tequila burning our throats as she traced the bruises from my binder on my ribs. "You're beautiful. You know that," she said. And for the first time, I believed it might be true. We moved in together junior year. A cramped walk-up overlooking the Anacostia, where we dream about a life unbound by Whitaker expectations. Marriage. Kids maybe. Or just us against the world. But dreams in DC are fragile things, traded like stocks on the exchange. The betrayal hit like a drone strike, swift, impersonal, devastating. It was spring of senior year, 2022, And I'd finally mustered the nerve to start hormones, black market estrogen patches from a clinic in Baltimore, because insurance wouldn't touch gender dysphoria under Dad's military plan. Ethan found out through my trash, empty blister packs tossed too carelessly. He confronted me in the kitchen, voice low so Lena wouldn't hear from the bedroom. "You're throwing it all away. Caroline. Whatever. Dad's grooming me for the firm. Whitaker defense. Billions in contracts. You think he'll let this shit ruin us?" His face twisted, not with anger, but calculation. Ethan wasn't just the athlete anymore. He'd interned at Dad's company, learning the dark arts of lobbying, backroom deals that armed half the free world. "I'll cover for you," he said. "But you owe me." Owe him. That phrase haunted me like a bad debt. What he meant was, I'd take the fall for his screw-up. Ethan had been skimming from the company, petty at first. Expense reports fudged for poker nights with senators' sons. But it snowballed. Embezzlement. They called it later. $2.3 million funneled through shell accounts to fund his coke habit and a mistress in Georgetown. The feds were closing in. An audit was imminent. Dad, ever the fixer, needed a scapegoat. Someone expendable. Family protects family, he'd growl during our rare dinners. But his eyes always skipped over me, like I was already a ghost. So I did it. Signed the confessions. Forged the emails. Ethan walked me through it, his hands steady as he guided mine over the keyboard. "It's temporary," he promised. "Dad'll pull strings. Make it look like a junior accountant glitch. You'll get probation. Community service. Hell, maybe it'll toughen you up." I was 21, terrified of losing Lena, of Dad's wrath if the truth about me surfaced. I thought it was noble, sacrificial, bearing the cross for the brother who'd once shielded my secret. The plea deal came fast. Felony fraud. 18 months in a low SEC federal camp in Pennsylvania. My med school dreams vaporized. Lena visited twice, her eyes hollow. "I love you, Caro. But this, it's eating you alive." On the third visit, she didn't show. A letter arrived instead. "I can't watch you destroy yourself for them." Prison was a special hell, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. The constant shuffle of feet on concrete, whispers in the yard about who you'd been before the bars. I kept my head down, binding still hidden under state-issued teas. But word spread. The Whitaker kid, they called me, like I was a punchline. Assaults came quick, showers turned into ambushes. My ribs cracking under boots from inmates who'd lost brothers to Whitaker bombs in Fallujah. I learned to fight dirty, to spot the shank in a rolled magazine, to sleep with one eye open. But the real rot was inside. Letters from Dad. Curt and typed. Disgrace to the name. Don't come home. Nothing from Ethan. I imagined him stepping into my shadowless spot at the firm, toasting with Dad over scotch. The empire unchallenged. Parole hit in 24. 8 months early for good behavior. Ironic, since I'd spent every day behaving like a ghost of myself. D.C. had changed. Biden out. Harris holding the line against whatever chaos the world was churning. I crashed in a halfway house in Anacostia, waitressing at a soul food joint where the owner, Miss Ruby, didn't ask about the faded tattoos or the way I flinched at raised voices. "Girl, you got fire in them eyes," she'd say, sliding me extra cornbread. "Don't let 'em snuff it." I applied for the Marines on a whim, recruiter's pitch at the VFW hall, promising purpose, structure, A chance to rewrite the script. Trans folks serve with honor, the sergeant said.
No bullshit.
Don't ask. Don't tell is dead history. I passed the ASVAB, the physicals, even the psych eval, where I spilled about the fraud, the family, the ache of being unseen. They saw potential. I saw armor. Basic at Paris Island was brutal baptism, sand fleas gnawing your ankles, DI's screaming cadence that rattled your bones. But for the first time, I felt solid. The uniform draped right. No binding needed after top surgery on the GI Bill, courtesy of a progressive doc in Beaufort. My drill instructor, Gunny Ramirez, pulled me aside after a 12-mile hump. Whitaker, you move like you've been fighting shadows your whole life.
Channel that.
Make it your weapon.
I did.
Graduated top of my platoon. Earned the Eagle.
Globe.
And anchor that tasted better than any metal Dad ever pinned on Ethan. Quantico followed. Officer Candidate School. The crucible for Lieutenant Bars. That's where the ghosts caught up. Ethan reached out via encrypted text, burner phone. Because of course. Congrats on making it through the meat grinder. Dad's proud. In his way. Meet me. Coffee. Neutral ground. I should have ghosted him. But blood's thicker than spite. We met at a Starbucks in Woodbridge. Him in a Brooks Brothers suit that screamed corner office. Me in civvies that still felt like camouflage. Look, Haro, he said, stirring his latte like it was poison. The firm's expanding. Cyber division. You could consult, off books. Clean slate. His smile was oil slick. But I saw the cracks. Crow's feet at 28. A twitch in his jaw from whatever demons he'd fed since my fall. I laughed. Bitter as black coffee. Consult? After you hung me out to dry? That temporary beef cost me everything, Lena. My future. My goddamn name. His eyes darted. Scanning for eavesdroppers. It wasn't like that. Dad pushed. Said you were. Unstable. The gender stuff. It complicated things. Unstable. The word landed like a gut punch. That's when he dropped the bomb. The real secret. The one Dad had buried deeper than my conviction. Mom didn't die of cancer.
Caro.
Overdose. Pills and vodka. She found out about Dad's affair with his aide. Back in '05. The stress. It broke her. He covered it. Autopsy faked. Because scandal would have tanked his career. You were 10. We were kids. He made me swear silence. The world tilted.
Mom.
Ethereal in my memories. Humming Sinatra in the kitchen, suicide? And Dad. The Rock. The patriarch. Architect of her end? Ethan leaned in. Voice a conspirator's whisper. He thinks you're weak like her. That's why the fraud, testing you. Seeing if you'd crack. But you didn't. You're stronger. Join us. Fix it from inside. Revenge flickered then. Not the hot rage of prison yards. But cold. Surgical, the kind that fells empires. I smiled. Nodded. Played the prodigal. But in my bunk that night, staring at the ceiling cracks like fault lines, I plotted. Not just exposure. Destruction. And I knew exactly how.
See?
In OCS Intel briefings, you learn about black budget toys, DARPA wet dreams, neural implants, AI that predicts betrayal before it happens. But buried in declassified files, ones I'd hacked during late-night study sessions, was Project Echo, body transference tech, Experimental. Shelved after ethics boards cried foul. Neural mapping. Quantum entanglement bullshit that let you swap consciousnesses for interrogations. Dad's firm had funded it. Early days. Before it went dark. Ethan still had access codes. He'd bragged once. Drunk at a family barbecue. If I could get inside. Trigger a swap. Become him. Unravel the lies from the throne. Controversial? Hell yes, stealing a life. Even temporarily. Blurred every line of consent. Identity. Justice. But after what they'd stolen from me, fair's fair. I fed Ethan just enough hope to keep him close. Vague promises of thinking it over. A shared beer at the O Club where I let him ramble about boardroom conquests. Meanwhile, I charmed my way into restricted servers, flirting with a sysadmin named Jax who moonlighted as a hacker for fun. You're Whitaker? The ghost, he grinned. Over greasy diner fries. Heard your bro's a snake. Let's rattle the cage. Jax was queer. Non-binary. Saw the fire in me. Together, we ghosted through firewalls, pulling schematics on Echo. The device, a helmet rig, 2 pods. SYNCS brains via electromagnetic pulses. Reversible. In theory. Lethal. If you fuck the calibration. This is Frankenstein shit, Jax warned. You sure? I was. For Mom. For Lena. For the girl I'd buried under years of silence. The swap night was set for a Whitaker gala in D.C., black tie affair at the Hay Adams. Schmoozing defense contractors under crystal chandeliers. Ethan would be there. Dad, too. Scotch in hand, holding court. I'd pose as a +1. Jax rigging the hotel suite upstairs with smuggled Echo prototypes, swiped from a dusty R&D vault in Alexandria. Heart pounding like a bass drum, I slipped the invite into my clutch, the weight of it heavier than my sidearm. Lena's ghost lingered in the mirror as I applied lipstick, deep crimson, defiant. She'd left, but her words echoed. Don't let them define you. I wouldn't. Not anymore. As the limo pulled up to the hotel, fog rolling off the White House lawn like cigarette smoke, I felt the noose tightening. Ethan greeted me at the door, arms slipping around my waist for show, cameras flashing, headlines brewing, Whitaker heir and sister reunite.
Sister.
The word stung sweet. Dad nodded from across the ballroom, his gaze appraising, not affectionate. Caroline, he rumbled, voice like gravel. You clean up nice. Marines treating you right. I smiled, teeth bared. Better than family, sir. He chuckled, mistaking venom for banter, and clinked glasses with a senator. Ethan pulled me aside, eyes gleaming. Upstairs, after the toast. Pods are set. Quick in and out. You'll wake up in my shoes, literally. Board access. Everything. The suite was opulent. Damning. King bed untouched. Echo rigs humming on stands like sci-fi relics. Jax monitored from a van outside. Voice crackling in my earpiece. Vitals green. Sync at 92%. You ready? LT. Lieutenant. My rank. Earned in sweat and spite. I strapped in opposite Ethan's pod. He was already under. Sedative-laced champagne doing its work. For the record, I whispered to the machine. This is justice, not murder. The helmet clamped. Darkness swallowed me. A vortex of memories colliding. Mom's laugh. Prison bars. Lena's touch. Then nothing. I woke to silk sheets and a body that wasn't mine, broader, heavier. The faint itch of aftershave on skin that screamed wrong. Ethan's skin. I stumbled to the mirror. His face staring back, handsome.
Hollow.
My voice. Deeper. Testing. Holy shit. Downstairs. The gala thrummed. Upstairs. Revenge ignited. I rifled his phone. Text to the mistress. Ledgers of skimmed funds. Emails plotting dad's next test. Framing a rival exec. Same playbook. But deeper. Encrypted folders. Mom's autopsy. Unaltered. Pills scattered like confetti. And a video, Dad. Raging in his study post-funeral. She was weak. Ethan. Like your sibling. We bury it. Or we break. His hand shook. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a dynasty built on graves. Slipping back into the ballroom as Ethan Whitaker felt like wearing a corpse's suit, familiar yet alien. Every step echoing with borrowed confidence. The chandeliers dripped light like melting gold, and the crowd parted for me. Murmurs of the prodigal returns slithering through the air. Dad held court near the bar, his laugh booming as he regaled a cluster of admirals with tales of Desert Storm daring do. Ethan approached, clapping a hand on his shoulder. The gesture paternal. Possessive. Evening. Father. Room full of sharks tonight. He turned, eyes narrowing for a split second. Something off in my posture? The sway of hips too subtle. A softness in the grip? But scotch dulled his edge. Son. Glad you made it. Closed that cyber deal yet? China's breathing down our necks. Son. The word was a blade, twisting in this stolen chest. I played the part, nodding through jargon about firewalls and F-35 upgrades. But my mind raced circuits faster than any server. Jax's voice in the hidden earbud. Swap stable. But cortisol spiking. Get the data dump and bail. Data. Proof. I excused myself to the little boy's room, locking the marble stall and syncing Ethan's phone to a burner drive. Files flooded, not just Mom's death, but a web of corruption, bribes to VA officials for faulty prosthetics, kickbacks from Afghan rebuilds that left villages in rubble. Whitaker defense wasn't building America, it was bleeding it dry. And Ethan? Complicit. His signatures on every dotted line. Rage boiled. Hot and unfiltered. But I leashed it. This body. This life, it was my scalpel now. Back in the fray. I cornered a congresswoman from the Armed Services Committee, the one Dad had labeled pliable in his notes. Ma'am, I said. Ethan's charm dialed to 11. A word on oversight? Our firm's transparent as glass. She sipped her martini, eyes shrewd. Is it, Mr. Whitaker? Rumors say otherwise. I leaned in, dropping the bomb, a whisper about irregularities in the ECHO program, ethical lapses, perhaps cover-ups tied to personal tragedies. Her brow arched, hook set. By midnight, I'd seeded doubts with 3 more insiders, subtle, deniable, the kind of controversy that festers like an untreated wound. Dad watched from afar, pride mingling with suspicion. Good. Let him squirm. Dawn broke gray over the Potomac as I ditched the gala, hailing a cab to Quantico under Ethan's name, his corporate Amex footing the bill. The real Ethan stirred in my pod back at the suite. Groggy. Disoriented. Jax slipping him a memory wipe via 4-drip. Temporary amnesia. 24 hours. Buys you time. I crashed in barracks. This borrowed bulk sprawled on a too-narrow cot, dreaming in dual voices, mine high and fierce, his low and scheming. Waking as Ethan meant navigating OCS by day. Ethan's life bleeding into mine. Calls from dad barking orders. Texts from the mistress demanding alibis. I aced simulations, barked at plebs with borrowed authority. But crack showed. A DI caught me staring too long at a female recruit's form, not lust, but envy, a ghost of my old bindings. Eyes front. Whitaker, you queer for this shit. Laughter rippled. I swallowed retorts, reminding myself, patience, precision. The controversial calls came fast. First, Lena. I'd kept her number buried in Ethan's contacts, stalkerish. Yeah. But desperation clings. Texted from a ghost account. It's Caro.
Need to talk.
Coffee. She replied within minutes. How? Why now? We met at that same Adams Morgan dive. Her red hair faded to auburn. Lines etched around eyes that once sparkled. Prison changed you, she said. Stirring sugar she didn't need. The Marines too. But this secrecy. I spilled it all, the swap, the secrets, the fire in my gut. Her laugh was sharp, disbelieving. Body swap? Like some sci-fi revenge porn?
Caro.
That's not justice, it's madness. She was right. Of course. Ethically bankrupt. Legally a death sentence if caught. Hacking federal tech. Assault via neural violation. But as she reached for my hand, his hand, I felt the pull. Help me end it, I begged. Expose them. For us. She hesitated, then nodded. One condition, no more hiding.
BU.
All the way. Deal struck. Controversial as hell, dragging her back into the Whitaker vortex, risking her safety for my vendetta. Next domino, the leak. With Lena's journalism chops, she'd pivoted to freelance investigative after our split. We curated drops. Anonymized docs to ProPublica, Mom's real autopsy. Time-stamped bribes. Ethan's ledgers cross-referenced with public contracts. Whistleblower sources, Lena typed, her laptop glowing in our no-questions-asked motel hideout. The stories hit like artillery. Whitaker defense empire built on lies, suicide cover-up. War profiteering expose. Dad stock tanked 15% overnight. Senators distancing like rats from a sinking ship. Ethan, real Ethan, frantic in my old body, which I'd left bound lightly in the suite. Called Dad. What the fuck? It's like they know everything. I listened in via bugged line. Smirking in Ethan's penthouse mirror. Dad's roar. Find a leak. And where's your sister? This reeks of her weakness. OCS ramped up. The swap stretching days into a week. Jax tweaking the rig for stability. But side effects crept. Migraines like lightning. Flashes of Ethan's memories intruding. Coke-fueled nights. Mom's lifeless form airlifted from the bathroom floor. I pushed through, earning endorsements from those 7 generals at a command briefing. Cyber warfare sim where Ethan's tactics, my tactics, crushed the red team. Whitaker's got ice in his veins. One growled approvingly.
Brass.
If only they knew the ice was forged in a sister's frozen hell. The pushback was vicious. Dad summoned me, Ethan in my skin, to the firm. A glass tower in Rosslyn that pierced the sky like a middle finger to the poor below. I arrived in his Bentley, chauffeured, feeling the power thrumming. His office, walls lined with ribbons and photos, him with Bush, Obama, a young Ethan saluting. No trace of me. Sit, he commanded, pouring bourbon neat. This leak, it's sabotage. Fed circling. You hear anything? His eyes bored in. The general assessing a traitor. I met them steady, channeling Ethan's cockiness. Nothing solid, Dad.
But.
Caroline. She's poking around. Marines or not, she's got that spite. He slammed the desk. Glass rattling. That thing? It's no daughter. Weak blood. Like her mother. There was the mask slip. Venom pure. I recorded it all. Hidden mic whirring. We'll handle her, he continued, voice dropping. Quietly. Accident on the range. Maybe. Tragic training mishap. Murder. For me. The man who'd buried his wife would bury his child without blinking. I left shaking, not from fear, but fury so pure it burned. Back at base, I confronted the ethics, staging an accident for Dad, poison his bourbon with echo-laced nanites, swap him into a vagrant, let him rot anonymous? No, too clean, too merciful. Lena urged restraint. Turn it over to the DOJ. Let the system grind them. But the system? It was Dad's playground. Controversial decision. Escalation. I hacked deeper, deploying Echo remotely, a virus Jax coded, targeting Dad's smart home. Mid-swap simulation in his study. Alone with his regrets. I'd flip the script. Make him live as the ghost he'd created. The night before induction. Tension coiled like a spring. Ethan trapped in my body. Memories fuzzy, had been stashed in a safe house. Fed lies about a corporate retreat. He begged via video. Caro, whatever this is, stop. Dad's unhinged. Unhinged. But.
Kettle.
I ignored him, focusing on the oath ahead. Lena slipped into my barracks after taps, her touch grounding in this alien form. You're playing God, she murmured, fingers tracing Ethan's jaw. What if it breaks you? It already had. But gods don't quit mid-sermon. Induction dawned humid, the auditorium packed with families, proud moms dabbing tears. Dads beaming. I stood tall in dress blues, Ethan's frame filling them wrong but fierce. The commandant called names, and when Whitaker, Caroline echoed no.
Wait.
The swap blurred lines. I'd timed the reverse for post-ceremony. But in that moment, I was me again? No, logistics tangled in my head.
Focus.
Vows exchanged. Hand raised. The words steel on my tongue. Generals rose as one. Salutes rippling. Brigadier Ellis. Major General Torres. The lot, seeing the warrior. Not the Whitaker stain. And Dad, seated front row. Suit crisp. Face thunder. He didn't budge. Lips moving. Still not a son. The mic caught it. Amplified for the hall. Gasps rippled. My heart, my real one, pulsing free, swelled. Twist one. The ceremony wasn't just milestone. It was trap. Jax had live-streamed the feed. Dad's slur blasting to every news outlet Leonid primed. Whitaker hate trended by the recessional march. But Dad's eyes locked on mine, recognition dawning slow. Horrified. You, he mouthed. The swap hadn't fully reversed yet, echoes lingering. My gaze too sharp in Ethan's face? No matter. The war was on. The aftermath crashed like a Virginia squall, reporters swarming the base gates. Protesters clashing with MPs over toxic masculinity in the military. Dad's face plastered on every cable news cheerin' from Fox to MSNBC. General's homophobic outburst at daughters swearing in shocks nation. I fielded calls in the O Club. Jax's bug zapping Ethan's phone to forward everything. Dad's panicked voicemails. Ethan's frantic pleas from the safe house. Caro, they're coming for us. The boards revolt, resign or be ousted.
Good.
Let the empire crack. Lena and I holed up in a cabin on the Chesapeake, rented under her aunt's name, waves lapping like accusations, the air thick with salt and unspoken what-ifs. You did it, she said, curling against me, my real body back after the reverse swap, aches fading like bad dreams. Expose the monster. But victory tasted hollow, laced with the controversial rot of my methods. Echo wasn't just tech, it was violation. A digital rape of identity that left me queasy. Ethan's memories lingered, flashes of his coke highs. The thrill of closing deals over bodies buried in footnotes. Was I any better? Stealing his skin to skin mine? The feds moved fast. DOJ raid on Whitaker HQ. Agents in windbreakers hauling servers while Dad lawyered up in a panic room. He called me direct, first time in years without intermediaries. Caroline. Whatever game this is, end it. Family sticks together. Laughter bubbled. Ugly and free. Family? You mean the one you broke? Mom's ghost says hi. Silence. Then a rasp. She was broken before. Weakness runs in the blood. Yours. Hers. I fixed what I could. Fixed. Like swapping out a faulty part. I hung up, dialing the congresswoman instead. Full packet, including the murder plot audio. Tragic mishap, he'd said. Now it was evidence. Ethan escaped the safe house 2 nights later, Jax's oversight. A slipped guard. He showed at the cabin unannounced. My old fatigues hanging loose on his frame. Eyes wild. You bitch. You used me like a puppet. He lunged, but Lena had the .38, her dad's.
Kept 4 DC.
Knights. Back off, she snapped. Steady as steel. He deflated, slumping onto the porch swing.
Dad's done.
Arrest imminent. But he told me everything before the raid. About the swap. He knew.
Caro.
From the start.
Knew.
The word detonated. Twist slammed like a bulkhead door. Dad hadn't just covered Mom's suicide. He'd orchestrated my fall deeper. Post-prison. He'd hacked my medical records early, when I was still Caleb in files, leaking hints to recruiters, ensuring I'd wash out of civilian gigs. The fraud? His idea. Not Ethan's. Test of loyalty. Ethan confessed. Voice cracking. He wanted you broken enough to stay silent. But the gender reveal? That was the kicker. He funded Echo not for interrogations, for control. Planned to swap you into a suitable body. Reprogram the defect. My stomach roiled. Not revenge fantasy, but his. I'd stolen his toy to wield against him, but the blade cut both ways. Controversy peaked. Do I expose the full Echo horror, risk blacklisting trans tech? Painting us as freaks or bury it, let the corruption charges stand alone? Forums exploded. Heroic whistleblower or vengeful hacker? Pundits debated on CNN. My induction clip looped endlessly. Dad slur the soundtrack to think pieces on America's fractured families. I chose messy truth, leaked the Echo specs anonymously, with a manifesto in my voice. This isn't about one family. It's about power stealing souls, yours.
Meaning?
The ones we bury. The nation fractured further. ACLU lawsuits. Congressional hearings. Ethicists decrying neural colonialism. Climax brewed in a federal holding cell in Alexandria. Dad. Arraigned on fraud. Manslaughter. Conspiracy. I visited under protective detail. Plexiglass between us like the walls we'd built. He looked smaller, jowls sagging. The general reduced to inmate orange. You win, he spat. No preamble. But at what cost? You're no son. No daughter, just a mistake I couldn't fix. I leaned in, voice steady. I'm Caroline Whitaker, Marine. And you're done. No swap this time. No tech, just words. The final cut. As guards led him away, he twisted. Ethan knew.
About Mom.
Helped stage it. Double twist, brother not just pawn, but player. Ethan, facing his own cuffs, had played me too, dangling half-truths to survive. The ending? Debatable as a hung jury. Dad plea bargain down, house arrest in West Virginia. Empire auctioned to the highest bidder. Ethan flipped, testifying for immunity, vanishing to witness protection with a new name, new lies. Lena stayed, married me in a quiet Annapolis courthouse. Her vows fierce, through the swaps and the storms. The Marines promoted me to captain. Those 7 generals, my shields against brass backlash. But nights, when the Chesapeake whispers, I wonder, did revenge heal or hollow? I bore their crimes, unearthed their secrets, but the betrayal's echo lingers in my scars. In the boy I buried, in the son Dad never saw. America moved on, as it does new scandals, new wars. But in quiet moments, raising my hand to salute the flag, I feel the weight of 7 standing tall, 1 seated in spite, and a girl who rose anyway. Was it justice? Or just another swap? Trading one cage for another? You tell me.